I have no idea what's going on, and I love it. That's how I feel playing Lapis X Labyrinth, a beat-em-up RPG that is just unbelievable. It is a complete audiovisual mess, and that should be a problem. But the audiovisual feedback the player gets is so overwhelmingly positive, so overwhelmingly reaffirming, that it don't matter. All you have to know is that you keep hitting things until you get showered with presents and treasure and bright colours. It's like a casino payout in video game form, over and over again, and it's fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about how the game mechanically works, as well as I can understand it. The basics aren't all that complicated. You are a bunch of chibi adventurers stacked on each other's heads, because of course you are. You can swap the main character out from your party of 4 anytime you want. You can also throw the chibi characters that are stacked on top of your head, if you want, and they'll perform their own attacks. You, using buttons and directional movements, have an array of your own personal attacks, and that's more or less the fundamentals of it. You go through each floor of a dungeon, hitting all the monsters, collecting as much treasure as you can, and if you do that enough, you will hit Fever Mode, which is the main draw of the game. That is when you get that slot machine payout feel, where the colours go wild, you become invincible, and you just lay waste to enemies while precious gems and treasure boxes and colours and fireworks and bright breezy music just plays. And it is garish, and it is wild, it is dizzying, and it's brilliant. You can just see it right here, just so much going on, and all of it good. That's the main thing. It's all good. You're hitting things, you're leveling up, you're getting experience, you're reaching fever, you're getting presents. It's been a long time since I've played a game where I just feel constantly encouraged to keep going, because the game will thoroughly reward you each and every time you go into a map. It's just that simple, everybody. If you make a player feel really good as they play, you've probably made a really good game. I know that in the modern video game world, that seems to be a bit of an alien concept, actually giving the player lots of things to feel good about and lots of rewards and a sense that as they play the game, they are getting stuff, they're making progress, they're having fun. A lot of modern AAA video games, of course, have removed the fun to sell the fun back to you. They have, in fact, made their games grindier, less interesting, more boring, in the hopes that you will pay to make it better. This game is almost immediately gratifying, and it never lets up. And I can't stop playing it. As I'm talking about it right now, I'm thinking about playing it. It's one of those games you can put on and plan to play for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then you get that one more go bug where you just want to have another level or 2 or 3 or 4, because it's incredibly addictive, and not in a cynical money-making way, just a please keep playing me way. The game wants you to keep having fun with it, and you'll probably tell from my voice that excites me. I'm excited when I play a game that sits back and says, you know what? Let's just have a ruddy good time. How about that? How's that for a sales pitch? Let's just have a good time. The music is brilliant, especially when you hit fever mode, and it's just bouncy and jumpy, and it's happy that you're happy. That really catchy tunes. The visuals, as you can see, they have that hand-drawn art style. The characters are adorable. Enemies are cute. Sort of, some of them. The main characters, all the little chibi adventurers, are adorable. You have multiple characters you can choose to play as. You can make your party up of a combination of any 4 of them, and each character has its own set of unique attacks and attributes. There is the Maid, which excels at weakening enemies, and she attacks with a frying pan and can send little lovey hearts up in the air. There's the Gunner, which, well, specialises in ranged combat, as I'm sure you could have guessed. There are spellcasting characters like the Necromancer and the Witch, which also operate best from a distance. There is a standard hunter type class with daggers, quick movements, closing distances. There are a lot of characters. I stuck with a routine set of 4 for a while. Each one is interesting to use and has a suite of engaging attacks. Not all of them are useful. Some characters have various skills and abilities that don't feel as worthwhile as others, but every single character does do something cool, something that's effective, something that will be useful. And as a result, I find myself mixing and matching quite a lot. I can't quite settle on a favourite. I do have a special fondness for the maid character. She's just quirky and has an interesting fighting style, but I'm constantly switching in and out. And the game encourages that because there is so much to dig into and enjoy. As you might expect, there is a lot of inventory management in a game with so much treasure and so much gear to unlock. You will constantly be fiddling with new weapons, with new armor pieces. You can upgrade all of this. You can add elements to them. If you're not fond of fiddling around in menus, there will be parts of this game that drag a little for you. I do think it's worth it to get to that hack and slash gameplay though. But there is a lot of fiddling around, and if you change party members, you have to re-equip gear, which can be a hassle. But as you progress through the game, you unlock more storefronts, more things to buy, more ways to upgrade and improve your characters. There's just, as I said earlier, constant positive reinforcement, a constant sense that you are getting more powerful, that you're acquiring more stuff, that you're drowning in vaster piles of treasure.
Big money! Big prizes!
That said, it's not all roses. There are some issues that add a little air of frustration to the game. Controls can feel a little sticky, at least on the Nintendo Switch. Oftentimes you'll feel like you're attacking in the correct direction, only to find that your character has turned around for some reason, and is attacking a wall while the enemy is behind them. That's happened quite a few times, and I think that could have been easily mitigated. Because I think the Switch sticks themselves can be especially jumpy and not all that great for precision. And that could have been fixed if you could change direction while you're in the middle of a combo of attacks. You actually have to stop attacking and then turn and then hit to course correct, which just breaks up that sense of fluidity in the combat. So you can get out of it, but you've got to stop and start, and it feels a little antithetical to the way the game is played. So oftentimes I'll find myself still hammering the button while knowing I should turn around, just because you get stuck into that flow, that motion of the combat. The game does mitigate it a little by having a small radius of effect on almost any attack, so you can actually incidentally hit some enemies if they're right close behind you. But I do feel that a little more direction while attacking would have helped this game out, would have just added to the sense of motion during combat. The other problem is a function of the visual chaos on screen, and that is you might just discover one of your party members is dead and you'll have no idea how, why, or where that happened. It's not a major issue. For the most part, if you walk over a member of your party that's been downed, they'll be added to your stack again, no bother. Provided you can get to them, of course, that's an issue. But yeah, like sometimes you will not notice because there is so much yelling and shouting and slashing and bashing and dual noises going on all over the place that you can easily lose track of who's in your party at any given time, and it won't be until you hit a quiet point, maybe between floors, that you look up at your party screen and see, oh, someone died somewhere. What a shame. But even if you lose party members, you can still get through most of the levels okay. You might hit very temporary difficulty spikes that mostly comes from entering a new level and getting killed by some enemies that have very powerful attacks. But as soon as you work out which enemies can one-hit KO your party members, you become more careful, you know which ones to prioritize, and it doesn't really become a problem again. In fact, the only real consistent way I've ever died in this game, like had a full party wipe, is running out of time. There is a bit of a frustration that comes from the level design here. They are, as the name might suggest, set out like Labyrinth's other levels, and because there's not a lot of visual distinction with the backgrounds, the actual environmental design, it is possible now and then to get lost, or to just lose track of time while you're wandering around looking for treasure. And if the timer runs out, a phantom appears, which is an enemy that cannot be killed and will one-hit kill your entire party if you touch it. And that is the only thing in this game that's wiped me out so far. I've managed to get through challenging fights, boss encounters, but that phantom, its ability to completely end your run is made worse by the fact that when it spawns, it might just spawn on top of you. That's happened to me before. I happened to jump in one direction at the exact same time the timer ran out, and went face first into the phantom, and it was by far the most annoying thing that's happened to me in this game so far. It's not a common occurrence. You shouldn't be getting lost all that often, but it does come up and it can be a real pain in the arse, and the sudden merciless spawning of the bastard can lead you into trouble. Such complaints are but minor inconveniences, however, for a game that is simply a joy to play. I don't get to say that very often, that playing Lapis X Labyrinth is simply a goddamn pleasure. It constantly makes you feel rewarded, it constantly bedazzles the senses, and makes you feel like there's a lot of ruddy bloody good timing to be having. I really like it, if I've not communicated that effectively by now. I love how colourful it is, I love how cute it is, I love how fun it is, I love how endlessly gratifying the entire scenario happens to be. Playing to get to fever mode is like playing a slot machine where you only ever win. And it gets that exact same, it nails that feeling of colour and audio feedback that casinos do in order to, make a crapload of money out of you. But this game already has your money, and in exchange for that, it just gives you fun. Lots and lots of fun. And that is something that is priceless. It's really, really good. I'm not picking that up.